What's up, guys? It's Bobby from Bobby's Big Board once again, and today I'm breaking down my top 24 Dynasty quarterbacks now that the 2025 NFL Draft is behind us. Whether you're rebuilding, contending, or just planning ahead, I'm ranking every tier from long-term elite assets to risky veterans, so let's get right into it. At the top of my S tier is Josh Allen, the gold standard for Dynasty quarterbacks. He has the best combo of passing and rushing talent in the league, and even what was considered a down year for him as a passer, he still finished as the QB2 overall thanks to 12 rushing touchdowns. He's either been the QB1 or the QB2 in each of the last 5 seasons, with elite arm strength, the ability to make every throw, and a rushing skill set that lets him bulldoze defenders. Allen is the full package. He's a cornerstone QB1 with at least 5 to 8 more elite years left in the tank. Next up in my S tier is Jaden Daniels, coming off an incredible Offensive Rookie of the Year season. He looked totally comfortable in Cliff Kingsbury's system, showing elite rushing ability and impressive accuracy throwing receivers open. He threw for over 3,500 yards, rushed for nearly 900, and totaled 31 touchdowns. Insane numbers for a rookie quarterback. He already looks pro-ready, and if he takes another step forward in year 2, the sky is the limit for him. He's young, explosive, and the perfect quarterback to build around for your future. Finishing out my S tier is Lamar Jackson, the reigning QB1 from last season. He finally put it all together as a passer, throwing for over 4,000 yards for the first time in his career with 41 touchdowns to just 4 picks. Add in over 900 rushing yards and another 4 scores on the ground, and that's an MVP caliber season even though he fell just short. Lamar has now delivered multiple QB1 finishes, and with his consistency and dual threat dominance, he can absolutely be a league winner if he stays healthy. At the top of my A tier is Jalen Hurts, a consistent high-end fantasy quarterback thanks to his rushing upside and those guaranteed goal line touches. While I'm not in love with him as a passer yet, he's shown flashes, especially in last year's playoffs, and if he continues to improve there, he could absolutely push for the QB1 spot. With the tush push still in play, you can pretty much lock in 12 plus rushing touchdowns every season. That rushing floor alone makes him a high dynasty staple that's pretty much in the top 5. Next up in my A tier is Joe Burrow, coming off a huge season where he led the NFL in both passing yards and passing touchdowns. He's one of the best pure pocket passers in the league, with 2 elite wideouts at his disposal. He's got all the tools to be a high-end quarterback 1. The main concern with Burrow, though, has always been his health, and while he doesn't offer much rushing upside, his elite passing talent makes up for it. He's finished as a QB3 last year, and with all his weapons locked in on long-term deals, his production should stay rock solid if he can stay on the field. Next up in my A tier is the quarterback for my Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes. He's coming off a down year by his standard, finishing as the QB11, but after that Super Bowl loss, I expect the Chiefs offense to come back with something to prove. Mahomes still has one of the best arms in football and elite off-script ability. He creates plays out of thin air. With Rashee Rice returning, Xavier Worthy stepping up in the playoffs, and Jalen Royals now in the mix, this offense is primed to bounce back. Even in a down year, Mahomes is still a low-end QB1 at worst, and with his long-term job security, he's someone you can build around for the next 5 to 8 years easily. Next up in my A tier is Caleb Williams. He had an up and down rookie season, but still managed to put up solid numbers, and now the table is set for a huge second year leap. The Bears brought in Ben Johnson, who led the league's top offense last year in Detroit, and their post-draft roster is stacked with weapons. Caleb's raw talent is off the charts, and if he puts it all together in year 2, we're looking at a potential top 8 fantasy quarterback. The upside here is absolutely wild. Next up in my A tier is Drake May. He had a rocky rookie season, 15 touchdowns to 10 interceptions, but there were some crazy high-end flashes on film. He showed real rushing upside and made some absolutely elite level throws, all while starting just over half the season with basically no help around him. The Patriots added Mike Vrabel as head coach, brought in Kyle Williams and Stephon Diggs, which gives May some real weapons to work with finally. If he takes that next step, the ceiling is a Josh Allen type of level. We're keeping him in the A tier for now until we see that ability consistently though. Next up in my A tier is CJ Stroud, who's coming off a bit of a down year, but I'm still very high on his long-term outlook. He dealt with a beat-up O-line and injuries to his top 2 wide receivers, yet still managed 3,700 passing yards, 20 touchdowns, and 12 picks. It wasn't the follow-up to his elite rookie season that we were hoping for, but the pieces are in place for a bounce-back season. He's got 2 talented rookie wide receivers added to the mix, and Nico Collins finally to be expected to be at 100%. The O-line still needs work, but if they shore that up, I fully expect Stroud to become a top 10 quarterback. He's still young and already proven, so he's locked in for the long haul. Next up in my A tier is Bo Nix, a guy a lot of people were down on heading into last season, but he completely proved the doubters wrong. As a rookie, he led this stacked quarterback class in passing yards with over 3,700 yards, tossed 29 touchdowns to 12 picks, and even added over 400 rushing yards and 4 rushing scores. He looked super polished and pro-ready from day one, and that's with just an average wide receiver group. Now, with another year under Sean Payton, I think Nix only gets better. He's locked in as a top 10 dynasty quarterback for me with room to rise. At the top of my B tier is Justin Herbert, who talent-wise is a top 7 QB in the league in my opinion. He had a solid season last year, throwing for nearly 3,900 yards, 23 touchdowns, and just 3 interceptions, despite the Chargers shifting to a run-heavy approach. And that's the problem in Dynasty. With Najee Harris and Omarion Hampton now in the backfield, I expect Herbert's pass attempts to drop even further this season. Last year, they only passed more out of necessity when J.K. Dobbins went down. As great as Herbert is, the volume just won't be there, I don't think, and I think he settles into that QB 10 to 16 range in Dynasty, regardless of how talented he is. Next up in my B tier is Trevor Lawrence. He had a rough season last year, and after taking a big hit late in the year, he and the Jags finally addressed a shoulder injury with surgery, something that may have been affecting his throwing mechanics for a while. With Liam Cohen now in as head coach, the same guy who helped revive Baker Mayfield's career, and new weapons like Travis Hunter joining BTJ, I think T-Law is set up for a major bounce-back season. He should be easily a top 15 quarterback next year, and if you can buy low on him right now, I'd absolutely pull the trigger. Next up in my B tier is Jordan Love, a guy I'm a bit lower on than consensus. He missed a few games last year due to injury, and when he was out there, he was solid, but I don't think his play quite matches his current dynasty value. He threw for nearly 3,300 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions, and the Packers added Matthew Golden to help the wide receiver room, but I expect Josh Jacobs to still get 280 plus carries next season, which will limit Love's passing volume. His decision-making and accuracy were very inconsistent for me, though he did have some stretches where he looked like a top 10 guy, but I think he'll need to put it all together to move up my board from here. Next up in my B tier is Brock Purdy. He just signed a massive contract that locks him into San Francisco for at least the next 4 years, and he's in one of the league's most stable offensive environments. Kyle Shanahan is still one of the best offensive minds in football, and Purdy's surrounded by a strong wide receiver group in Pearsall, Ayuk, and Jennings. Last season was tough though. Injuries on both sides of the ball definitely impacted his play, but if things click again, I think he settles back in as a high-end quarterback too with some solid weekly upside. Next up in my B tier is Baker Mayfield, and yeah, he's a little older, which pushes him down the dynasty ranks a bit for me, but I've got to give him credit. He completely revived his career in Tampa. He's coming off a QB4 season where he threw for 4,500 yards and 41 touchdowns, but with 16 interceptions. He's a true gunslinger with the confidence to make insane throws, even if that sometimes backfires. His wide receiver room is aging, but the Bucs added Emeka Egbuka in the first round, which gives Baker a long-term weapon to work with. I think he's got a solid 3 to 5 years left in him, but his long-term dynasty outlook isn't ideal, which keeps him here in the B tier for me. Next up in my B tier is rookie Cam Ward, who was drafted first overall by the Titans. The upside is definitely there. He's got great arm talent. He can throw with touch and accuracy and makes plays outside of structure very well. But there's a lot of volatility in his profile. His floor for me can be something like Zach Wilson, and that risk keeps him in the mid to low B tier for me. I'm also not fully bought in on the Titans as a QB development team. They haven't had exactly the best track record with that. Outside of Calvin Ridley and a few rookie wide receivers, he doesn't have much around him either. Ward has the tools to be a top 10 quarterback if everything clicks, but until we see that consistency, I'm not trusting him as more as a speculative QB2 in Superflex formats. Next up in my B tier is Kyler Murray, one of the most interesting dynasty cases out there. When he plays, he's consistently a top 10 fantasy quarterback. He's coming off a QB10 season with 3,800 passing yards, 21 touchdowns, and 11 picks, and nearly 600 rushing yards with 5 rushing scores as well. The fantasy upside is still there, especially with weapons like Trey McBride and MHJ, but the problem is he's not really winning games, and his inconsistency as a passer combined with his shorter stature and struggle seeing the full field makes me think Arizona will move on from him by 2027. Long term, I'm definitely worried. He's a sell for me in Dynasty, but if you're in win now mode, I think he's still a strong QB2 in 2025. Starting off my C tier is JJ McCarthy, another very interesting case. He was drafted in the first round back in 2024, but missed his entire rookie season due to a knee injury. I like some of what I saw from him at Michigan, and I do think he has the tools to lead an NFL offense, but until we see him take a snap in a regular season game, I can't rank him any higher than this. The good news, Kevin O'Connell has made every quarterback he's coached fantasy relevant, whether it was Josh Dobbs or Nick Mullins. And McCarthy walks into a dream setup with TJ Hawkinson, Justin Jefferson, and Jordan Addison. He should be fantasy relevant, but we need to see it first. If he plays like most quarterbacks have in that system, he'll jump into my mid to high B tier with the potential to move into even my A tier. Next up in my C tier is Jared Goff, coming off a career best QB6 finish. He threw for over 4,600 yards, 37 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. Extremely solid numbers, but there are concerns. He's over 30, offers nothing as a rusher, and just lost his offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, which I think will cause the Lions to take a step back overall. He's one of the best play-action quarterbacks in the league, but with Detroit expected to be even more run-heavy this season, I think we've seen Goff's ceiling. He's a sell high for me in Dynasty, but if you're a contender and he's your QB2, I think you're in a decent spot with him. Next up in my C tier is Bryce Young, unfortunately coming off yet another rough season, but he did finish strong, finally looking like he was starting to figure things out a bit. He's still very young with some solid rushing upside, and the Panthers drafted Ted McMillan in the first round to give him a real weapon. If Leggett continues to develop and Tet hits, this offense could take a big step forward, and Bryce could sneak into solid QB2 territory. That said, there's still a ton of uncertainty, and he's had some really rough outings last year, and nothing's guaranteed. If you have him, I'd recommend holding. His price is at a rock bottom right now. Next up in my C tier is Michael Penix Jr., and I wasn't thrilled with the Falcons picking him last year. I thought he was accurate in college, but with multiple season-ending injuries and no real rushing ability, he's never profiled as a strong fantasy asset. He did get a couple starts this year and fed Drake London, but overall his play was shaky, spotty decision making, and inconsistent accuracy. He's still a rookie, so maybe there's some room for development, but as of now, Penix is a full fade for me in Dynasty. Even with decent weapons, I just don't see the upside with him. Up next in my C tier is Tua Tagovailoa. He showed flashes of high-end fantasy production when he returned from injury last year, but he's a classic pocket passer which already caps his ceiling in fantasy. The bigger concern though is his durability. He's had multiple seasons impacted by concussions now, and there's already been talk in the media about retirement if it happens again. Yes, he has elite weapons in Tyreek and Jalen Waddle and a sharp offensive coach in Mike McDaniels, but with no rushing upside and major long-term health concerns, he's probably just a QB2 for me at best. Next up in my C tier is Justin Fields, and I love his running ability. It's elite, but his limitations as a passer is still a major concern. The Arthur Smith offense in Pittsburgh last year didn't do him any favors, and even going back to his days in Chicago, outside of a solid deep ball, he was still pretty raw as a passer. Now he's with the Jets, and I've always been wary of that QB situation given their rough history developing quarterbacks. In limited starts with the Steelers last year, Fields did show some flashes, but in New York he's going to be asked to throw more, and I'm not sure if that plays to his strengths. His current 2-year deal isn't exactly a vote of long-term confidence either. That said, I'm rooting for him. He's incredibly fun to watch, and if he plays better than expected, he will absolutely move up my board. Rounding out my top 24 is Dak Prescott. He's coming off a rough year that ended in a season-ending injury, and at over 30 years old, his dynasty outlook is starting to get shaky. The Cowboys fan base seems completely out on him right now, and I'd be surprised if he's their starter by 2026. That said, Dak has shown flashes of elite quarterback play, including a high-end quarterback one season in 2023, and I do think he's still got some good football left in him. But he's going to have to play at his absolute best in 2025 to hold on to that job. If you're rebuilding, I'd trade him while you can. If you're contending, he's a solid hold, but I wouldn't expect much in terms of his value right now. And guys, that's my top 24 Dynasty quarterback rankings. Let me know down in the comments who I'm too high or too low on, and drop your top 5 while you're at it. Be sure to like, subscribe, and join the Bobby's Big Board Discord to keep the Dynasty talk going all off-season long. Link is in the description. And always, guys, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you guys next time.
Hey.